And okay, can you hear me?
I can, yay.
Marvelous. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good, how are you?
I'm walking and talking. Here, I'm actually just going to adjust my camera a teeny tiny bit. Okay, there we go. And closing the door. And ta-da! Okay, we're here.
Yay. And while we let everybody funnel in, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your day to talk to us. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me here. It's an enormous pleasure and an honor besides. My name is Cole Eubanks, or at least that's what I go by as my pseudonym, which is funnily enough, my the name that I started out with, and I'll leave it at that for now. Anyway, I am an audiobook narrator and very gratefully able to say so. I've been doing this since 2020, when I had a little bit more spare time and got tired of having people ask me very well meaningly if I did anything with my voice and having to tell them the very lame, long winded response of no, but thank you. And you're not the first person to tell me that. And I listened to a ton of audiobooks and always wanted to jump into the magic and just wondered what it would feel like and realized that lending voice to those characters is probably the closest I can get. So basically, I'm a book nerd, book geek fanboy that gets to be a part of people's magic, and that's amazing.
That sounds fun. Yeah, I love that explanation. What made you get into narrating? Was it just all the questions or
I mean, yeah, there was definitely that, but I have to be honest that I've just I've always loved books. I've been an avid reader since I was little. Actually, funnily enough, I I had uh amidst the various things you could expect from an elementary school education, reading was actually one of my struggles. And then once I figured that out, it was like the floodgates opened and I was just ravenous and just devoured books and I love fiction. I love magic. I love the various ways that we can express ourselves as human beings through the medium of literature and stories and characters. And I mean, I guess when it came right down to it, yeah, of course I wanted to have something better to tell people when they very kindly remarked on my voice and asked if I did something with it. But I also I love being a part of the magic. I love getting to do what I do. Um, and listening to so many audiobooks at the time when I started this, I had I think like 250 audiobooks under my belt. And so I had a pretty darn good idea of what at least I, as a listener, liked to hear from a narrator or from an audio production and things that bothered me and chafed me. And so I guess I just became so passionate and avid about it that all of these things coalesced together. And I decided, you know what? I'm gonna just gonna try and do this myself. Like, why not? I've got the spare time. 2020 happened, but I've got a closet under the stairs and a fledgling dream. So heck with it. I home project a booth and I got an audiobook narration gig. I want to say a month into auditioning, and it was a new author. It was a 27-hour long fantasy
wow.
with over 30 character voices that, of course, I took upon myself to make every single one distinct. I had no idea what I was doing. I just followed ACX's Rex, and to my detriment, more on that later. Uh, but it was a learning process, a trial by error, if you will. And there were many errors, and I learned much.
Oh man, 30 plus characters. I can't even imagine how you would be able to keep them straight at all.
It took some doing. The voices eventually lived in my head, and we'll just tell my future therapist about that someday.
And that was your first audiobook. And what was your favorite audiobook that you've narrated so far?
Oh my gosh, asking the hard ones, Christina. Why would you do this to me?
Sorry.
Oh God. That's like asking me to pick my favorite kid.
That's what everybody keeps telling me, but I'm always gonna
Honestly,
ask.
it is a completely understandable question that has almost no possible answer. But if I had to to do my darndest to make the possible possible or impossible possible, I'd have to say that nope, nope, God. All right. Star Z Davies' Desolation series was a wonderful ride, and the reason why it holds a special place in my heart is because it was an opportunity for me to do something I've never really gotten the opportunity to do in audio, and that is to just enjoy a good old fashioned good versus evil, like adventure story with magic and like kind of pseudoscience and like superhero esque aspects. And I do a lot of romance, which I love. That's
Right.
totally fine. I've done romance, I've done spicy romance, and everything in between. I've done many subgenres of romance, but to be able to just step into the shoes of some characters who just have a really engrossing like world building sort of setting and story and see if they can overcome the big bad guy who you never see coming. And I just
Right.
that really spoke to me, and I want to do more I want to do more projects like that. I want to do more romance. I want to do more everything, but I really am looking forward to the fantasy, the sci-fi, the adventure, and everything of that like.
Okay. Is that your favorite genre to read for pleasure as well?
Yeah, I think I would have to say so. Some form of fantasy. Okay, so Six of Crows, you'll hear me anytime anybody asks me or like breathes in my general direction in regards to books. I'll say, "Ooh, Lee Bardugo, Six of Crows, not that you asked. Hi, my name's Cole." Um, love that series so much. Anything Brandon Sanderson like jots down like on a notepad, I will revere. Uh, let's see. Michael J. Sullivan and the Ryura Chronicles is a lot of fun. Um, so this is all. Oh, and admittedly, definitely pretty smutty. Which I don't care. I do a lot of that. Anything that Sarah J. Maas writes as well. So Court of Thorns and Roses and Court of Silver Flame and all of that fun stuff. I would say
Oh.
yes, fantasy is probably my favorite.
Okay. I love fantasy. My first ever fantasy genre or introduction to that genre was from Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout.
But yeah, 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 yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
very
so
cool.
then I was like, okay, I could get behind fantasy now. Like this is interesting. And I love all
Mm-hmm.
the moving aspects, and I actually didn't mind the world building when it's told like through the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see how you fell in love with fantasy. It makes a lot of
Absolutely.
sense.
Definitely.
And
Yeah. I mean, I love all the various genres, but yes, fantasy I think holds a special place in my heart.
fair. Did you take any like theater classes to get into narration, or was it just learn as you go?
Definitely learn as I go. But I didn't I didn't get into theater to take narration, but I did get into theater before I became a narrator. I was in theater in high school. Actually, we took a show to Scotland once. That happened. Um, for the American High School Fringe Festival, which every time I say that, that seems egregiously specific for a whole festival. Um, I After that, I did some theater in college, and I actually was kind of on track to pursue it into film, but I realized it just nothing against it or anybody who does it, but it just I didn't I kind of saw the trajectory of where my life could go were I to be as successful as I possibly could be, and I
Mm.
didn't really want that. And so I
Okay.
decided to pick something else, and I'm really glad I did because now I get to do something akin to that, but from the comfort of my home in a little dungeon.
Very Harry Potter. You said it was underneath the stairs.
So this is actually my booth. Well, I don't want to call it final form, but current form booth that I've had for a couple of years. It's a whisper room, basically just a phone booth that's in my current abode in the basement. Um, but My first ever booth, yes, was a Harry Potter like closet under the stairs. I had to unplug my fridge, which was right outside anytime I narrated. I had
Oh
oh
no.
yeah, it was a full on like uphill both ways in the snow sort of situation, but by well, I wouldn't say it's by my choice, by necessity, I guess. Okay. Um I had a laptop that wasn't built for it. It had a fan.
Oh
Anybody
no.
who has attempted to do, and I'm about to suggest, is probably groaning at at the screen right now, because I was in an enclosed space, and it would heat up, and then the fan would turn on, and then I would have to stop
Right.
and like get get some tea or something, like every 20 minutes or so.
No.
Yeah, and that was for the 27-hour book. Don't ask me how long it took. It will
Oh
make me
my
very sad. um,
God. I can only
but it got
imagine.
done. Many lessons were learned.
And do you read the books before you start narrating, or do you narrate and read at the same time? How is your process?
I do okay, so when I first started out, I tried for a very brief stint to read it as I went, and then at about chapter one, I decided that that was a terrible idea. And I highly suggest that nobody ever do that. Brandon, I'm fairly certain, would actually combust down in the comments. Now,
I
that
could see.
said, yes, I do read my manuscripts before I engage in any kind of narration. I actually now am prepping my scripts like an actual professional narrator should, which I haven't done for more projects than I'd like to admit to, um, just so that I can effectively emote the way that I should and keep pacing the way that best behooves the novel and the performance. Yes, thank you, Brandon. And hello to everybody. By the way, I know I've just been kind of like glued up in center, but hello to everybody who's joining us. Thank you so much. Love you all. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh well, gone. Squirrel.
I can very much relate. I was just curious what your process was. Like if you go through and start making voices for each actor, each character, if there's many, and if you were reading so far ahead that you know go with it, or if you kind of just flew by the seat of your pants kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel you there. I think that there's something to be said. I read once from an article from gosh, and I can't remember her name, which totally invalidates the quote. It's like something wise said someone. Um, so I once heard that the best thing you can do with your script is to prep it as a script, but keep a light touch on the story so that you can re-experience it when you come back through. So rather than really obsessing over every detail, you kind of you know what happens, you have a general overview, and then when it comes to the performance aspect, you still have that sort of unrealized potential of emotional gravitas that otherwise might be stale if you were to kind of
Right.
fixate. I think that there's something to be said for that. I think that it also just depends on the person. For me, I really do feel like I'm such a nerd and such a geek when it comes to like work. I'm the biggest fan of the people I get to work for. Like honestly, I just if I get my hands on your story, I'm like I'm romancing it. I'm like taking it out to dinner. I want to know everything that it likes. I want to know if it prefers like sugar in its tea. That's just kind of the way I operate. I can't help it. I love I'm passionate about being passionate about stories. In regards to my process though, yeah, I'll prep my script. I do something that many voice actors don't do, I've found out, which is because it's something I made up. Um, which is I do what I call a voice demo. The reason I do on the subject of like coming up with voices, I actually usually narrate the script aloud to my partner. Just and so I come up with voices as I go, kind of figure out where their voices are and what accents, and kind of get to almost have like a trial run of the book before I start. I don't always get the luxury to do that, but if I can, I do. Um, but then at the very end, what I'll do is with any client that I have, I'll set up a voice demo demonstration essentially right before we're meant to start production and narration of the book, where I can sit down with the author and go, okay, so first of all, story, we geek out about it. It inevitably happens every time, like 15 to 20 minutes. Um, and then we talk about the characters, the voices, the accents, and make sure that everything is something that they could sign off on, that I can commit to safely, so that I don't have to wonder if I'm approaching the character right while I'm narrating the character. At that point, I should just be able to invest. Um, and I've found that that has really served me in the long run. It's also kind of a way for me to basically be able to uh, try something out with the author that then they, as the author, can expand into other things. So, for instance, it's an opportunity to learn about. Shoot, I had a really clever name for this, but it's escaping me. For lack of better terms, red herrings. There was there was a character in one of the series that I've done that I'm not going to ruin the spoiler, because I feel like that would be just an egregious injustice to the story as well as to the person I'd be spoiling it for. Um, but basically, this character is presented as being very helpful, very likable, very innocuous, and all throughout the series, 4-book series, by the way, up until the end of book 3, that is the way they are. They're helpful. They're always there. And then it turns out that character is the big bad guy and always has been. And you just sit there and you put all the pieces together. And when you reassemble your cranium back into something that works, you just it was amazing. And I've never been taken so off guard as a narrator, and I've rarely been so taken off guard as a reader and listener. But if I hadn't known that character was going to become that, or always was, if I hadn't asked, then that could have done less justice to that moment and to that character than I otherwise got to. Because I did ask, because I knew from the first utterance of his first line, I got to play that angle right from the beginning as being this deceptive, smooth talking, otherwise very gentle seeming character who's holding all the cards. So yeah, I'd say that's probably a huge hallmark of my process. And I think I've expended at least like what, 20% of our time just talking about it. So but yes, so that's a big part of my process. And then I'll narrate the whole series. I generally can do not the whole series, the whole book. I'm sorry. Baby, I have a 9-month old, and sleep deprivation shows
I get
itself
it.
in different ways. Um, but I've found that I can generally subscribe to about 4 to 5 hours of finished audio a week. And that kind of gives you a general idea of how long it takes me to finish an audiobook, if that makes sense.
Okay. And do you edit it yourself and cut out all the pieces, or does someone else do that for you?
It depends on the project. If it's just solo, if it's just me, yes,
Mhm.
I'll do all of the editing, all of the mastering, all of the post production. I have a really, really robust uh, mastering system that I'm really grateful for. Everything I did, everything I've done, everything I've assembled has come from a trial and error perspective, which gets basically, I tripped really hard, full tilt over something and had to figure out how to never do that again. The voice demo is because I went through a whole book for it with a character that was billed as standard American, and then at the end, the author decided they wanted them to be Scottish. This was the main male
No.
character of the story. It was a 6-character reverse harem, but that's besides the point. There was no Scottish, and there was a complete audiobook that was at odds for that. So I did what any person would do. I binged Outlander, and I got a Scottish accent for the very first time. It was my first ever accent. And then I decided I would come up with a way for that to never happen again, and thus voice demo. True story. So, in regards
Jamie
to
Fraser's a
editing,
good teacher.
what's that?
I said Jamie Fraser is a good teacher.
The
So
best, the absolute best teacher. That and Murtaugh. I mean, my gosh, yes. Anyway,
yes, season one, Jamie.
oh yes. So, oh, we could go entirely a whole different direction there, honestly, and I'm totally down. Um, in regards to this is me trying to keep the squirrel that is my brain in the cage where I need it. Um, in regards to mastering and post production, it is unfortunately also the result of a huge mistake, and that is I told you we'd get back to this. My very first project, 27 hours of blood, sweat, tears, and so many mistakes. I finally get to the end of my handy dandy, full trusted and faith inserted checklist on ACX that telling me exactly what I need to do in what order as a person that knows nothing about what they're trying to do. And then it gets to the very end, which is titled Mastering and Post Production. And I was like, okay, great. Let's find out how to do that. That's important. Um, the videos that ACX has are extremely helpful. I only have a couple of things that I would change. This is one of them. It very helpfully informs you, as opposed to everything else where it went into specifics of how to do what, that to master and post produce for your audiobook that you probably shouldn't have started performing while you're going through this list, you should find somebody to teach you how to do mastering or do it for you. Now, this was 5 days before my deadline. So I did what any sane person would do. I had a panic attack. I lost 20 pounds on principle, and I figured out how to master. I went through the entire book, parsed through it bit by bit, did everything manual, not a speck of automation whatsoever. I'm fairly certain I traded at least a few years of my life for it. Um, we were also moving at the time. I was in an
No,
empty house. Oh, yes. Apparently, I must do
just the
everything
worst.
the hard way so that I can learn how to never, ever do it again. Um,
I'm the same way. It's okay.
with that finally said, for the very next project, I had a really firm understanding of how I would never, ever put myself through that. I also was ready to narrate about a week after that trauma, which told me that what I was doing was probably something I should stick with. Because if after going through that, I can still be jonesing to do it, I'm not
Right.
right. I might be doing something right. So I found the incredible Don Barnes, who, if you haven't heard of him, is an amazing post producer, like audio engineer, narrator. His whole like family unit does narration and audio engineering. He worked on Studio One, which is the DAW that I use to record. He worked on the RX Isotope 7 and I think 8 as well, which is the mastering software that I use. And I contacted him and basically I said, I need you to help me set this up so that this trauma doesn't happen a second time.
Right.
And he did. And so I have this mastering process that is amazing. I cannot overstate how incredible it is. It just makes good audio sound better. It can't undo all ills and evils, but I've gotten to the point where I can actually proffer it to other authors and narrators, and I can master a process or master a project in such a way that it's ready to send to ACX in most circumstances right after. So that's been really incredible just to kind of have that in my toolkit, not have to worry about it, get to focus on the performance and nothing else. Um, Now with duets, that's something a little bit different, but the long and the short of it, because again, I'm fairly certain I spent about 10 minutes on this one question. Um, for duets, there is splicing. You have to edit in your co-narrator's work
Right.
into your chapters and vice versa. That's a little bit more complicated, and I have utilized both an audio engineer for that as well as done it myself. I can do either. It just sort of it changes what a rights holder is willing to pay just me to do that
Mhm.
work. I'm willing to do it. I've practiced it. I'm comfortable doing it. I just need to make sure that no matter what happens, that my author and rights holder feels good about me being the one behind that particular wheel, as opposed to having a middleman.
Okay. And then we had a couple questions for you as well. What is the strangest skill or talent that most people don't know about you
Hmm. Strangest skill or talent?
or talent? Yes.
Huh. I'm thinking through because there's a few, but I'm trying to figure out which is the weirdest. Well,
Stuck to it.
technically speaking, okay, technically speaking, I am a trained ninja.
Oh,
Yes, feel free to laugh. It's
you
okay.
need no, you gotta elaborate on that. Now I want to know.
So, yes, Brandon knows this. Once upon a long time ago, freshly married and in Santa Maria, California, uh, we were my wife and I we were trolling around for different basically a place to spend time together, just some sort of pastime, something we could do when we're off work and just get to be together. And I have always had a vested interest in martial arts, sword play, fencing, you name it. And I had done a fair amount of karate over the course of my life, but I was looking for something new and interesting. And lo and behold, we drive past this little, like kind of, it's like a little mini mall outlet, and we saw this big, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle banner, and said, "Hey, want to be a ninja?" And I was like, okay, but it had like karate, aikido, and Bujinkan. Well, yeah, Bujinkan, Bujin Taijutsu, and it just seemed overly specific. And I was like, let's check this out. Like, why not? Sure, Teenage Mutant Ninja
Mm.
Turtle, Raphael, show us. Went in, found the most one of the most incredible human beings I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, Master Jim Reisinger, whose story I don't have time to tell, but it outdoes many a fiction story that I've had the pleasure of reading just as
Wow.
real life. He's an opulent human being who's been through a lot and takes it upon himself to teach people, not just in body, but in mind. But he does actually teach Bujinkan Budo Taijutsu, which is a form of ninjutsu from that hails from Japan. Our grandmaster Hatsumi is a like 4 foot Japanese man. He's about 90 and he has purple hair. He's adorable and wonderful
Oh,
and will do absolutely dreadful things to you if you give him permission. Um, but yes, my
sounds like
wife
one
and
of
I
our
started
books.
going. I'm sorry, what?
I said it sounds like one of our books.
Honestly, though, oh, he's wonderful and terrifying. But we practiced there. We found a little clan and practiced there for about 3 years. Got our black belts, and
Oh.
so yeah, I am a trained ninja.
A lot of people in the comments are asking for a demonstration.
I don't know how I can do that. I can clamber up into the like ceiling that's 3 feet above me. I don't actually think I can or should do that.
I'm always reading the comments. And what would you say on a scale, like how good are you on a scale between SpongeBob to Kung Fu Panda?
I take it that SpongeBob is the low end, or is he the high end? Because it really depends. Are
He's
we talking like
he's the
Poe before he climbs the stairs, or after he becomes the Dragon Warrior? I mean, um, let's see. Well, what's in between? Do I have to? Do I am I either a weaponized sponge
I would
or
say
the
like
Dragon
handsome
Warrior?
Squidward would be in between.
What's that?
Handsome Squidward could be in between. Like SpongeBob, handsome Squidward, or Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, I'd probably go handsome Squidward. Like I feel like I could probably outdo a sponge, but I don't know if I could actually take on a bear. I'm just being practical here.
Oh my God. I'm
It's all
sorry.
right.
It was one of the questions we had written down, so I had to ask.
Of course. All for it.
And I listened to your Bonded by Trauma. And
Oh.
yeah, I listened to that one. And I must say, it's not usually like a genre that I go into, but I was intrigued from the beginning of that story all the way through.
Oh, I'm really glad. Thank you so much for listening. That's wonderful, and I really appreciate the support. And Gordy, as you probably noted, is down in the comments. She's the writer of Bound by Trauma.
Oh,
She is an absolutely wonderful human being, and it was such a pleasure to work with you, Gordy. Um, the whispers, that was fun.
yeah, the whole time I'm like, what is gonna happen? And then I got to the end and I was just like, my jaw hit the floor and I was just like, there's no way. And I had to like re-pause and rewind and I was like, you took me on this whole thing. And then you do that to me at the end. I was
Yep,
like, you know what? Fair
yep.
enough.
Gordy, I think what they're asking for is a sequel. So long and the short of it is, yeah. And I had a similar response as well, like going through that whole thing, and it was just like, I'm sorry, wait, where, what? Excuse
Yeah.
me, excuse me, excuse you. Yeah, that was actually first of all, again, it was wonderful to work with Gordy. We've known each other for a little bit. She's a wonderfully supportive crown straightener of a human being and just deserves all the
Aw.
love. Um, and yeah, it was an incredible pleasure to work not only with her but with the story because it was a total departure from anything and everything else that I've done. I've never done like horror suspense to that extent, and so being able to dip into the more like monstrous aspect of my vocal range
Mhm.
is a very rare pleasure. I love working with vast ranges. Those 30 characters in the very beginning of like doing what I do for the Epimetheus trials, it was hard and I barely knew what I was doing, but God, I love delving into that kind of variety of expressions and vocalizations and way that I can make characters distinct, including monsters. I don't think I get to narrate enough monsters. Just saying to anybody who's listening.
No, yeah, that book took me on a journey definitely because I was like, okay, he's gonna have some type of like monster within him. I kept thinking he was the monster throughout the whole book.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. I could see that. Hmm.
That's what I was thinking because like how it was constantly following him. I was like, he's gonna be like kind of like Jekyll and Hyde is what I was thinking was happening.
Self-destructive Jekyll and Hyde. I like that. Well, okay.
Mhm.
Jekyll and Hyde is definitely self-destructive. Oh, who says
Yeah,
he isn't? Gordy.
yeah, that was my whole thought. And then we get to the end and the whole like sound that you did at the end when you were finishing up the book. I was like, what? I was like, I was like, hold on, he was just, and I just stood there and I had to pause it. And I was like, hold, okay, I'm gonna need a second. Like I was not expecting that like left field hit. So I had to pause it and I'm like, wait, what did I just miss? And I was like, all right, I probably did miss it. Let me just keep going. And the ending, like the last couple lines, I was just like, she really like
Yep.
this is I was like my whole thing was just I got whiplash so hard.
She took us for a ride, that is for sure.
Yeah. I had this whole thing projected in my head on how it was gonna go and how it was gonna end, and I was like, this is gonna be what's really happening. And then she was just like, no, that
We'll
is
have to
actually
find out
not the
which one.
case. So I loved that book, and I thought you did an excellent job, especially having to do like the monster persona as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It was such a pleasure to listen to. I was almost like, was he scared while reading this? Because I'm kind of scared.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Definitely.
Especially in how detailed like she was going into the monster. I was like, okay, this kind of creepy. Like, let me turn on the lights real quick.
definitely plugged into a couple different phobias, kind of all at once. Some
Yep.
I don't know if they should or shouldn't remain unnamed, but it rhymes with dolls, and I'll just say that.
Oh my God. You know what?
Mhm.
When that was mentioned, I was like, those are creepy already. And I had a family member that used to have like shelves of them.
Yeah, I
And
feel like
every
we
time I
all.
passed them at night, I'm like, yeah. So
Mm,
bringing that back in, I was like, stop.
yep. Nope. Yep. Nope.
I was like, I don't want to revisit that trauma of walking past them at night and like walking super fast, trying not to trip down the stairs, but trying to get away from them.
Oh God. Yep. Mannequins and
Oh,
dolls. I swear.
yes. The eye following really got me because I used to be like, I swear to God.
Yeah. Right. Right. Listen here, Stacy. You and I, we have an understanding. You stay up there and you stay in one piece.
Yep, I used to, when I would be home alone, I used to just turn them facing the wall.
Right. Honestly, yeah. You get to look there. Thank you.
Yep, that's why I was like, now I'll know.
Yeah. No kidding. Right.
And that whole scene where he was like, I put him over here, I was like, stop.
Right. God. Yep.
I had to
Yep.
stop listening at night and I listened to it the rest of it during the day, and I was like, it's 2 hours long, and I'm over here like I need to watch a Disney movie before I go to bed.
So on that note, God, okay, no, that could be a whole story. Um, it's so funny, like ever since Gordy, yes, blaming you in a good way. Ever since Gordy started that, I swear she started like a trend. Like all of a sudden, I got all of these like suspense, dark, stalker like romance
Ooh.
projects. So there's Misconnection by Michael Amo, and there's a couple people in the comments who've mentioned that. That's going to be coming out here pretty soon, and ooh, I got to be particularly and unprecedentedly unhinged, and that was a lot of fun. Just to respond emotionally to everything that this poor man goes through. Um, and the ending snapped my head around like nobody's business. I'll just say that. And I got to narrate that with Brandon, who is also again down in the comments.
Yay!
Yes, and she is
Ooh, I can't wait
incredible
for
and
that one.
amazing. Take a bow, Brandon. Don't you fight me on this. Um, that was to Brandon, just to be clear. So let's see. Oh, and then yeah, and then I had a stalker romance as well that was also entirely unhinged. Erotic
We love
stalker
it.
romance. Oh yes. Oh
That's
yeah.
the best kind.
Yeah, of course. Why not? May as well just go that extra mile at that point. But yeah,
We
it's
can fix
really
them.
it's fun. I'm all of a sudden I'm getting a I shall do no such thing, Brandon. I shall yodel if nothing else. But yeah, ever since then I've been enjoying dark content, which is fun because I do enjoy that content. I enjoy every bit of content. I really am just kind of hopeless. Um,
And you are you gonna try to do more monster romances? Are you hoping to do more monster romances?
I'm entirely open to it. Actually, this seems like a good. I shall not yodel now, Dana. You will have to pay me to yodel. So, love you
Now we're
too,
just getting
Marissa.
teased.
Right. Um, so this is actually an excellent opportunity to bring up the fact that in January I started out with my typical allotments, my typical allotments of workload. I kind of realized early on, admittedly, kind of outdated info, that I could really only devote my time to one project at a time. Like, say, in the span of a month, like I would have a I would have like a major book project, one novel, and slot that in for April, and then have another one for May, so on and so forth. And that was fine, all well and good. But this January, I had the opportunity, along with Gordy's project, um, to have a little more. I kind of scheduled myself for a couple of short projects and then a major like novel project. And I decided that I could make that work. Not only did I make that work, but at the same time, I also had a narrator friend of mine who is absolutely amazing, by the way. Um, EM Wild. He's incredible guy. We got to go to NOLA together for the Dark Star
Mm.
competition. Is that what we would call it, Brandon? Um, but he got something going on with his throat, and so he asked me to sub in for that role of his. And so all of a sudden, I had four projects, two of which I would consider to be entire novels, like major projects, and it was fine. And I realized I can do more than I've been doing. And so I am very grateful to say that for the first time ever in my career, I've been booked out for most of the year. And now I'm not. I'm expanding my operations. I am grateful to say that I can take on enough of a workload that every month that was covered, I now have some open slots for. So I'm just going to put that out there. If you guys have any interest in having my voice for a project, or if you think you have somebody who you think would like my voice for their project, I'm throwing my hat into any available ring. And that's to answer your question, Christina, is I want to do it all. I mean, I just monster romance, dark romance, everything. I want to do everything I can get my hands on. And dear God, Brandon is just going to explode with that's what she says, isn't she? Give it a second.
Well,
10 seconds.
Cordy
She's
said she's
already
gonna
typing
do
it.
one with mannequins.
Oh, what? Oh no. Oh no. No.
I already have nightmares from the dolls.
They will be different nightmares. They will be very confusing dreams at that point.
I'm gonna have to watch
Um,
Moana.
right. No kidding.
And if you
Um,
could start a rumor about yourself, what would it be?
if I could start a rumor about myself?
If you could start a rumor about yourself.
Wow, that's a really good question because I've never heard that one before. That I have no projects and thus all the availability in the world to narrate your audiobook. No, I would want to start a rumor that was funny. Like I'd want to start a rumor that like I'd want to like start a rumor that I'm like some ridiculous age that I don't appear. Like start a rumor that I'm actually like 50 or something, like
Oh,
55, 60, like and I just have a really excellent like, skincare regimen and whatnot and just like dye my hair and whatnot. Um uh, Something like that. Shoot. I think I'm just boring, Christina. I really think I am. Like
I
there
just
you
thought it
go.
would
I'm a
be.
ninja. That's my rumor, except it's true. Um, kind of.
What are Princess Sparkles?
Okay, I know exactly where you got that. Um, okay, so um, I have a thing with frappuccinos. I love
Okay,
frappuccinos, which is to
fair.
say that I love caffeine, but I don't like
Okay.
coffee. I like ice cream that gives me the benefit of coffee. And
I
so,
see.
yeah, I will enjoy myself a wonderfully large frappuccino with whipped cream always. And I have some really close people in my life who would celebrate my birthday by, say, getting me a frappuccino. Invariably, there would be a frappuccino involved in any celebration that involves me. And one day they asked, like, hey, do you want a frappuccino? I said, oh yes, yes, with extra sprinkles. And they're like, okay, no problem. So they come back, they went to the store, they got themed sprinkles and the theme was apparently like Disney Princess. It was just It was pink, it was stars, it was glitter. I'm fairly certain some of it was inedible, but we live in America, so we're used to that. And yeah, and so I had my Frappuccino with princess sprinkles, and it has become a thing henceforth, and I love it. I will have my frap with princess sprinkles gladly, with a song in my heart that more or less would involve a small forest of animals, if at all possible.
And then we've heard you have a habit of pounding on things and then not understanding why they won't do what you want. Have you ever considered a gentle finger strokes of word, words of praise or blowing on it?
So I take it that she literally wrote it out because that I see the line and it's just Brandon colon blah. Um, so
She may have
yes,
submitted some questions for me to.
perhaps. Oh, I'm sorry, that shall remain unnamed, but whose name rhymes with Brandon. This is my keyboard. It hates me. I don't know why. It came out of the box that way. If it could have spelled it out to me in any other way, and or we could have talked about it, I'm sure we would have. But instead, it what it enjoys doing is random keystrokes at inopportune moments that may or may not result in me losing tens of minutes of audio. This has only ever happened a couple times. I've figured out how to undo it, but it still gives me a panic attack anytime it does happen. Um, so little bit of enmity there, but obviously I need it to work. And despite everything that we're told and or feels Cro-Magnon in our body, I know that if I destroy it, it won't actually work any better. Um, However, as it turns out, um, I guess there is no way I can say this without Brandon again exploding into that's what she says, but that's the point of the question, isn't it? Yes, I have attempted blowing on it to get things out of there. Um, I have given it words of affirmation. You have heard me give it words of affirmation, Brandon. You've been there for it. I have been loving and kind, even seductive. Pillow talk has ensued. Um, what else have I done to you? Oh God, that's a yeah. What else have I done to you? Let's just let that simmer for a second. Um, let's see. But alas, earwax, when it comes to me just tippy tapping on here, I apparently am incapable of not doing so in such a way that it is at least highly audible. Let's see. Is there anything else I can insert into this dialogue? See, even there. Okay, so now that I have
Oh,
destroyed comprehensibility, um, yes, my answer is yes, I have. And I will continue apparently to pound on things, Brandon. Noted that little tidbit. We knew what we were talking about, but it was phrased that way.
yes.
Um, period.
I just wanted to make sure I got all the questions answered
Of course.
for
Love you too, you pill. Um, let's see, what else? Oh, hey, can I insert something else into this?
always.
God damn it.
I'm sure
Now
we
that
can make it fit.
fuck. Yeah, right, exactly. Uh, it wouldn't be much of a stretch. Anyway, then again, it might be. Okay, dear fucking God, bye. Brandon, why have you done this? Okay, so, uh, whoop,
Oh, Brandon, you're
uh,
amazing.
right. Okay, so, Linktree. Yes, that's something that's safe. Linktree. I have a Linktree attached to my profile. If anybody would like me to read their work, if you'd like to proffer me a project or just pick my brain about something, there is an author interest form through that link tree. You can find it on my socials on TikTok and on Instagram. There is also something that Brandon and I were trying to set up for Fridays. Every Friday, around, I'm just going to say my time, 1 p.m. MDT, so Mountain Time. We're going to be getting together and reading duet. Anybody that wants to proffer their written works, and we had so much fun working together on Misconnection and Midnight Voyeur by E.L. Koslow, that we just decided, heck, let's just keep this going. And so, if you guys would like to tune in for absolute inanity, hilarity, chaos, and no small amount of sexual innuendo, um, as was just demonstrated, uh, look no further. We'll be working together every Friday when Brandon doesn't literally break her jaw on nature. Um,
What?
nothing at all. Yeah, it definitely was nature. Nothing else that could be construed having to do with a tired jaw.
That's his payback for the question.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was so- Oh my God, the comments are amazing. And
It was a hard surface, Brandon. Let's be clear. It was very, very hard.
oh, do you have any signings coming up?
Yes. Well, signing. I'm attending an event in South Carolina. That's coming up here pretty quick. Um, Brandon's gonna kill me. I'm literally sleep deprived, and I can't remember the name of the event. Brandon, save me after my instantaneous betrayal. Let me see. So there's that. I'm also going to be going to Booked in Chaos. That's going to be at the end of the year. As for any other events, yeah, Booked in Chaos. Well, wait, that's literally no. That's in November. Okay, no. Yeah, lit. Yeah, lit. There we go.
Fun.
Lit in Low Country, I believe. Um, I am going to NOLA in Atlantic City. Apparently, everybody else knows where I'm going before I do.
They're
I
just
don't
gonna bring
actually
you
know if
along.
I'm going to be attending New Jersey because planes are expensive, as it turns out. But I will do my best to attend other events. Oh no,
Uh,
I'm
I know that we were trying to convince Brandon and Troy to go to Vegas in October, so we'll cross our fingers and toes that you could come to Wild and Windy Vegas as well.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to Vegas. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's several kidnappings being plotted down below. I know
They're
at the very
demanding demonstrations.
of what?
Yodeling, ninja,
Let's see. Yodeling whilst being a ninja in this enclosed space will
and a
either
southern
break.
accent.
Oh dear God. Yeah, really. Wait, hold on. Was there really a?
Ninja blowing a bounty.
Oh no.
Oh my God, that's a
Oh boy. I wait, ninja blowing pounding. Yeah, that's a wonderful way to get Christina's live entirely kicked off of TikTok. So
We're
I
just
don't think
talking about the keyboard.
of course, yes.
Oh, what what kind of projects do you have lined up so far? Do you have any in the works?
I do, yeah. I just finished the sequel to The Bratva's Bride by Rose Chase. That's The Bratva's Beast. It is a consensual, non-consent, dark, oh yes, dark Russian mafia romance with BDSM elements and a very healthy disclaimer right at the beginning to let you know either what you're getting into or what you are running away from.
On the
Um,
menu.
Thank you, Marissa. Yes, I got to learn a Russian accent. That was so much fun. Um, and I'm jumping into the next project, the next brother in the series. It's a bunch of brothers. So that will be the Bratva's Bounty. I've
Oh,
co-narrated that with Molly Breyer, who is absolutely wonderful. That should be on its way for April. I'll be starting at the end of March. I have a little bit of a hiatus while I go to one of the aforementioned events that I don't remember the name of in South Carolina. And let me see here. What else? Uh, I have a list. Um, I have a. I'm actually fairly open for April, so if anybody does want to hear me yodel as a Western ninja, that would be the time to do it, or to at least pay me to do it. Um,
I think we're
I
gonna need like a
also.
TikTok of you demonstrating all the skills.
Oh yeah, no kidding. I mean, we also again, Brandon will just corner me on Fridays. No, we'll corner each other. There's no way to make this sound any okay. Moving ahead. I'm sure I'm sure you guys will get me to be able to get me to do anything. Then wow, there's just nothing I can say. Nothing I can say. Moving on. In May, I have some short stories that I'm getting to do with MJ, very good friend of mine, absolutely wonderful author. Those are going to be some hockey romances that she and I are going to get to narrate together. I also have a couple of really exciting projects coming up with Alex Upchurch. She's a really cool author. Oh yes, definitely Blushing Gordy. Um, she does a bunch of like biblical books. So she's got one book from the perspective of Lilith, one from the perspective of Cain, one from the perspective of I think like an assembly like en masse of biblical elements, but all thrust from the very beginning of time to the modern era, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I am actually got a bunch of things in the works, like up through to the
Oh,
middle
that's
of the
awesome.
year. Yeah, it's really really exciting. And I've spoken with a couple of people in the comments about working together with them. So who knows? I'm going to be filling out my schedule as much as I can because I get to, and I absolutely love that.
Well, we
What
Gordy's killing me with her.
year of balloon pounding and ninja work? Ah, yes, of course.
Well, I'm very excited to hear your next project. And I wish you nothing but success. And I am so happy that you are able to book out. That just speaks to your talent. So you should pat
Thank you.
yourself on the back for that. Thank you again for joining us and being bamboozled by our chat. And I know you're extremely busy, but taking the time to chat with us was amazing. So thank you again for joining us, and I hope that we can have you back soon after we get some more of your books underneath our belt.
I would love that. Thank you so much. It was an undiluted pleasure. Yes, especially including the comments. Love you all. And thank you, Christina, for what you do and giving us the opportunity to showcase a little piece of what we get to do.
Yeah, but we absolutely loved getting to know you and picking your brain for information, and then also embarrassing you with the
I'm all for it. Bring it on.
But thank you again so much. Oh yes, picture. Would you mind taking a picture with our book club before you depart us?
Yeah, absolutely. How can I do that?
Let me invite them on in, and then we'll just take a picture with the boxes. Yes, Mika, I put in that application, so I'm waiting to hear back, but I am definitely wanting to come see you in May. All right. Now that we're all red-faced from laughing and embarrassing Cole so much, we can pose for a picture.
I was
Perfect.
crying. I was laughing so hard.
Well, I had to mute it because I was coughing because I was trying to hold it in the whole time. Like,
Happy to
how am
be
I
of
supposed to ask
service.
him a serious question after pounding and blowing in the coffee?
I don't know if there are any serious questions where I'm concerned.
And then I have like the picture of Brandon's questions on my other phone, so it's like trying to discreetly read them off.
I never suspected, not in a million years.
I was like, all right. I was like, I'm gonna sneak in the Squidward one. All right, are we ready? Oh, they are
So
So,
requesting that
Yes,
you
are you guys ready?
blow on your keyboard for
Oh,
that's a rumor that I shouldn't start.
there you
here.
You don't want
go.
the hand flippy thing that
Ready on
everybody
my
likes
count of
they
three?
do.
Yes. All right, here we go.
Okay.